Let's get super clear here. Better productivity is about getting more done in less time. It's not just getting more done. And it also has to dive deeper into what's important. Getting more done, that's important. Because think of this. Let me know if your hand might be up, that if someone gives you a yellow legal pad and you get to write all your things you're going to accomplish on it today, a lot of us will put a lot of things on it. And if there are 24 lines on it, we will fill up 24 lines. My friends, that is a problem. So anybody out there who might be guilty of this, then we've got a problem. All right. So if you are a recovering, yes, turning everything on and doing that, let's fix that right now. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to She Means Fitness Business. It's a division of our business, Voice for Fitness. And at Voice for Fitness, my entire team knows you want to be yourself, an inspiring example for other midlife women. So kudos to you. But in order to do that, in order to really have some power and leverage to help people, you have to have a profitable health and fitness business. Even if the word profit or making money makes you a little nervous, think of it this way. You can scholarship, you can give it all away, you can donate to charity, but you have got to make money in order to get attention in the places that matter and really have a voice. So think of it as this makes it possible for you to be generous if that's how you have to think of it. But it's also okay for you to want to create a lifestyle for yourself and for your family that you can not only do good, but you can live well and enjoy your life and your health and be taken care of. It is all okay. Listen, I can do one-on-one coaching, but right now I have two things I want to tell you about before we dive in. Number one, we have a Well Pros program. It is a mastermind and mentorship, and we have had, this is our first kickoff month as I'm giving this right now, and we're not even finished with the month. We've had a kickoff call, and we've had one live, and as we do this second hot seat session tomorrow, I can't wait to see what comes of it because someone has already sold 3 clients at a higher rate than she intended to sell them. And she was going to wait. She was not ready. She was going to hold herself back. So instead, she got in, she rolled up her sleeves, she did it, she set the appointments, and she's off to the races. And when you get a little momentum in like that, you realize that when you take action, you can make things happen. It can happen to you too. But here's the even more important thing. You being surrounded by people who are doing that, who are maybe sitting back, waiting to get ready. And you may do that. When you watch somebody else do it and stick their toe in the water, it makes it easier for you to say, if she can do it, I can do it. And that's really what you want to do, is surround yourself with people doing it. So I will put the link in the show notes about how you get started. We have a founder's rate. If you get in early, you can take advantage of that. That's $49. The regular monthly rate is $79. So it's significant. And I'm sorry, I have an 11-week-old puppy in the background who's not cooperating. I hope you don't hear that as much as I do. So I want you to consider that link. Do you need to be surrounded by people, not be alone and isolated? And this episode is all about what you might be doing and toiling away at that really doesn't count or matter. And I don't want you to go down that road. I was there for probably too often, thinking about what would be important in my own head while I could have been doing something else that was maybe a little bit more productive and putting myself in front of people and with people, surrounding myself with them for a better result. Also want you to go and grab the Health and Fitness Professionals Scorecard. So it's just a simple download. You can take it, look at it, but what I would recommend is put it somewhere where you see it and do it monthly. And then take action on those places where you've got some holes. It'll tell you what it is that you need to do to grow, and no business that's going to stay in business, it can get away with not doing these, not for very long. You can take a sprint and you can get a really good head start doing some things, I would say, that break the rules, and I recommend. But you're doing that to get bandwidth, to put money in the bank, help you relax and sleep at night so that then you can do the long-term things and put all these other things in place. So I'll show you where to get that in today's show notes. But let's dive into this episode. So, this is a really great time of year to be doing this. There's no bad time of year to be talking about productivity, because who among us wants to be wasting time just being busy doing things that are really not helping us make money? And I'm going to tell you that it's a very strong temptation to just keep yourself really busy. And, to have somebody maybe come home and say, "What'd you do today?" "Well, I was busy. I was doing this and I was doing that." But really down deep, my guess is if this is you, you don't feel like you were all that productive. You don't feel like anything you did actually got you to greater revenue or more consistent revenue. And sometimes, yes, if you've been doing this for a while, you have to spend a little time serving customers really well and making sure that you've done that. But really, overall, you want to focus your time on how am I creating more leads? So I'm growing my email list and growing revenue every single day, because otherwise the stats are here. 9 out of 10 health and fitness business and coaches still fail. And that statistic is not exaggerated. I mean, think about all the people who got health certificates, left their 9 to 5 job because they wanted to do something they enjoyed more. We've got more fitness professionals and health professionals than ever before. They're not all working full time. They're not all actually making a living. So think about where you want to be. And if you really want to make a living out of this, not just a hobby or a side hustle, you need to hear some of the things that we're about to say. Let's dive in. All right. Let's talk about this. Ever finish a day feeling like you've not really gotten anything knocked off your list that was important? You're 3 questions away from better productivity. There are plenty of reasons why this happens. It's procrastination. Number one, it's a very clever way to procrastinate because we feel kind of good going into all this busyness. I could lose 2 hours easily on Canva, the tool canva.com, creating a single elaborate post for Instagram. I'm not kidding you. Number one, I kind of like it. I love to play with graphics and words, and I am kind of good at it, but that doesn't mean that I should be doing it before I do other things. Because after those 2 hours are done, what I have is a post for social media. So that was not a revenue generating thing. That was an expense. 2 hours of my time. Had I been with a client, maybe that's $1,000 right there that I could have been bringing in, right? 2 different clients, 2 hours in a row. That's, potentially a waste of energy or effort if we needed to drive bottom line. So there are certain things that you or I love to do and that we're drawn to them for one reason or another. So we could be distracted by something unimportant all day long and not really ever get to the things that matter. In this time that we're in right now, like this moment in time in 2023, or you may be listening in 2024, we all have so many things we want to do and that can fill our time. You have to remember that while you'll have times when you need to roll up your sleeves and do the work, you have to find also the white space, the time when you're not doing things, the time when you're taking off and have downtime, because that's the time when you'll be most creative and inspired. So when you do come back to work, it'll be like you cannot wait to get back to it, to input this work. If you have an iPhone, and I guess I shouldn't say I shouldn't say that specifically because I don't have an Android. I don't know if this also applies to you. But if you have a phone and on it, you have a place to record your voice. And if you don't, you should download otter.ia because you can record your voice and then it will actually transcribe it. So you can send it to yourself and get your note. So it's like recording yourself in real time. And that could be something that is a blog post or a social media post, or it's the rough draft of show notes for a podcast. For instance, I do that all the time while I'm on a walk. Specifically if I'm on a hike, sometimes if I'm on just a suburban walk, but most of the time if I'm out and I'm on a walk, and sometimes it's just listening to music and letting things marinate in my head that I'm already thinking about. Sometimes it's listening to inspiring podcasts that I enjoy. I'll get a great idea spurred by somebody else. I'm hoping that this podcast does that for you. So I'm hoping you're recording those. That's an example of the benefit of white space, but you have to recharge your batteries. So it's really important that you're doing something where maybe you're thinking, but you're thinking about something entirely different. And that is actually when your brain may come up with a great idea. So be sure that you're leaving yourself that. And without that, girl, your light will go out, said with respect. So I know some of you are a little sensitive to the word girl or girlfriend. Personally, I'm never going to call you ladies. That's just not my thing. And I don't like to be called ladies. I don't take offense to it. I know it's just from the person, but also just be light in your comments coming back to me if you don't like that. But I'm going to be a girl till I die. I'm not going to be a lady, probably ever. Okay. So don't let your light go out. That's the most important message. So here are 3 questions for you to get to better productivity. When you have this legal pad full of, here's what has to happen. Or for me, this is scraps of anything. I love Post-it notes, but a lot of times I don't have them. And then I don't know what this is, but I will buy them. I'm sitting staring at them right now. This is super funny. So I have a pack of 6, but I save them. Like, I don't know why. I'm saving them for a rainy day, I suppose. I don't know. But anyway, so I will grab like an envelope and write on the back of an envelope, or I'll tear one open so I have blank paper, and I am feeling like I'm very frugal using things up. But I will write my list of to-do things because it makes me feel like, okay, I'm getting organized for my day. 3 questions. When you face that list, does it generate revenue immediately? For anything that does, leave it on the list, okay? Does it generate leads immediately? If it does, okay, leave it on the list. Does it matter today, just today, or will it still matter next year? And if it's only today, I want you to move all of those things down to the bottom of the list, because that does not make it urgent just because it's important to you today. Now, I get it. Your kids or your grandkids need cupcakes delivered to the school, or they forgot their backpack. That is okay, this is a today, and probably somebody has to do it. Maybe it doesn't have to be you, but I get it. But there are things that are just like seemingly important. Like, I need to post today on social media. Well, guess what? If you didn't, it won't matter next year. It will not matter. And the algorithm is not going to punish you because you didn't post today. Do you have to commit to doing some sort of consistency? Yes, of course. But if you have things that are about generating revenue, hopefully you've got yourself organized enough that somebody else is managing your social media posting while you're busy doing money generating tasks, because this is the most important. If you don't keep that door open, your social media account will not matter, right? These are strangers. They don't even care about you. Seriously, okay? And if you're posting to your already customers, you better be reaching out to them in a much more warm and cozy way on an email. So they should feel much more nurtured, and they're randomly seeing any post. So don't think of your customers, current customers, as the people you're talking to when you're posting to social media, because that's not who you're reaching. So sorry to go off on a bit of a tangent on that, but this is a really important thing to realize, right? So you do need to commit to doing a certain regular sets of posting and sets of emails. But, if you are trying to finish a program, get something done, you are drafting a proposal to work with a corporation and their 25 employees, don't you think that's more important? So you've got to see clearly what's the most important thing that I'm going to do today. And I'll tell you what, if you're not making any money, here's the most important thing you're going to do today. You're going to list 5 people that you know you can help, that you know have actually given you clues that they actually wish that things were different for them, that they had more energy, that they could sleep better, that they wanted to get started, and you're going to call them up. That's the most important thing you're going to do today, because you are one step closer to a sale. If you know that you can help them and you believe that they are in a position where they are actually ready, you call them up and you actually book a coffee or you book a Zoom call with them and say, virtual lunch, do lunch with me. And doesn't matter where in the world they are, but you book that session. And when you're done booking it, and if you have them right on the phone and you say, do you have 10 or 15 minutes right now? You can do it right now. But you want to make sure that you have yourself organized. But that's a very, very important thing. And that will matter next year, because that's going to keep the lights on and the doors open. I know that's proverbial, like if you had a gym or a studio and you may be totally online and you don't, but you need to think of it like this. Think of it like you have overhead, like you have to pay for the lights and electricity. You have to. What are you going to do in order to make that happen? You would find a way. If you were a single mom and you felt like there's no revenue coming in, there's no job, you would find a way to make sure that your kids had food on the table, right? And had clothes on their back. So 3 questions again, I'm going to give them to you. 1, does it generate revenue immediately? Does it generate leads immediately? Does it matter today, or will it matter next year? If it's just today, you need to park it. There's more, though. There's more than these 3 questions. I want you to answer this about each task that you have. What's the MVP of anything that you're doing? Okay, that is the minimum viable product. So that is the minimum viable product that you have to create in order to get it ready to go. So those procrastinators and perfectionists out there, I'm talking to you. This is not like this would be perfect and I have to have it perfect because I'm going to put it in front of the queen. Not even a chance. You have to respond to people while they're warm. You sometimes then can't get things perfect. You want to be talking to them as soon as you can if they're warm leads. So minimum viable product. You know, when you're building a program, a lot of you think I should build a program. I'm not quite ready. I'm going to create these 8 modules. Do not do that. That's one of the biggest mistakes that you could possibly make. You're going to build your course, but you're going to be wisest if you don't invest time, money, and energy into something that you don't know yet somebody's going to buy. Create the first module and the second module. See how well it flies. You may be quite surprised to find out that the things that you think that will be most valuable in that course are not. It's something else, and you need to create that. And that it's going to take you 2 weeks to get through module 1 instead of just the one that you'd allotted to it, because they had so many questions and there's so much that they want to know and they're just lost. You have to do this in real time with real people. You're too far from clueless. Even if you are or were your ideal client, you haven't been there recently enough. And you have still the lens of a coach or a trainer. And that skews everything, right? So it's not going to work for them in the way that it does for you, unless they are exactly you. And then they could build it themselves, right? So, and that is enough, right? So if this is an evergreen product that you're going to use, you're creating, say, for years, and you're sharing it with your partners, your affiliate partners is what I mean, then your minimum viable product is probably going to be higher and require more time and energy. But in some cases, when it's a lead generator, you want it to look nice, but you don't have to look like it's going to be delivered on a silver platter to the queen, right? If it's a quick lift to something that is a one-off, or I'm going to boost my relationship with people coming to my masterclass by giving them this freebie. Then maybe it's a lower MVP, say for a handout or cheat sheet in a masterclass or a surprise asset in a Zoom coaching call. That might be just all you need. So you've got to think about what's the MVP so that you can get it going. And then can you tweak it and improve it along the way? So let's do this. So, in terms of productivity, what might be on that list? I'm going to give you this in real time for me. So, here's an example of my Wednesday in real time. Tasks that I had to do. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm doing a post on Instagram. I'm posting a reel, but I have to go get it. I have to go get the copy. I have to get the audio, and it's time consuming a little bit, and it's thought process and energy. I got to get in there. I got to go do it. Maybe it's 10 or 15 minutes, but still, for me, that's a lot. And you want to be nurturing your list before that, your profile. And you want to be nurturing it right after as well, right? So you have a little padding. It's like pre-workout and post-workout. It's pre-post and post-post. Okay, so there's that. I needed to complete a promotional content piece for 3 products for our affiliates. We're entering into a really busy time. We're going to have 3 things that come up for promotion right away. But every time we do even something that's evergreen, we've done it last year, did it a different time this year, the dates have to be updated. The copy has to be reviewed just to make sure it's current in real time. And there's no mention of a month. I mean, how bad would it be if I handed something to my affiliates that said, getting ready for June in December, and not a good thing. I needed to review our team SOPs. That's our standard operating procedures for the month. I need to go through them and say, okay, we're done, or we need to improve this and better it. I need to review our new podcast manager's post. She's new. And so, we can assume that somebody knows everything, even though you've given them a cheat sheet and you've gone through steps. I mean, I wouldn't, right? I mean, it feels like, okay, I've got this list of things to do, but you get in there and then you're thinking, and the more experience you get, actually, the more you start thinking, well, I wonder about doing it this way or that way, or am I doing it right? You start to see things differently. So, a new team member always needs some supervision, and current, veteran, I didn't want to say old, but veteran team members still want your attention. I mean, one of the things I remember most about working at a fitness center was the general manager was operating several businesses in 2 different towns and multiple locations in each of those towns. And so he was in and out of each building during the day, sometimes multiple times, but he was never really there for a very long period of time. And do you know what his employees wanted most? They wanted time with him. Like the manager of a facility wanted time with him, more time with him, or the front desk manager wanted more time with him, or the personal training director, who happened to be me, wanted to, get some answers about something or have some mediation between myself and usually between group fitness, because we were kind of like at odds about they're doing this for free, we're doing this for fee. How is that going to work? Right. So there was always something, but giving time is important. So I also needed to work on next month's gift guide. There's something coming up in a month and you have to be working on it, right? Weeks in advance. So it's finished and ready to go and has time to be proofread. I needed to create recipes and a challenge for my membership. I need to reorganize some content within our membership. We're working on a huge remodel and overhaul and upgrade. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things. All of them pretty important. Some related to revenue, some related to customer service. And that's as close to revenue as I would say it gets. Taking care of your customers is like, you either kiss money goodbye if you don't, and you kiss them goodbye too, because they'll go somewhere where they get better service. But there are things there that stand out. So the real question may not be where on a to-do list all these things go, but whether you should be doing them, right? So they all need to be done. If you or somebody on your team are going to do a lot of tasks that don't lead directly to revenue or lead generation, AKA growing your email list, then how are you measuring successful completion of job responsibilities? So, my customer service person, for instance, she's not responsible for generating leads or for generating revenue, not directly. But all of our team understand that they are tied to it somehow because they're facilitating it. Questions come in, and you have to look beyond the superficial question to say, how could I answer that in a way that might make her realize we do have something that would solve that problem? That's my customer service person, but everyone should have a list of key things that they are evaluated on, that this is the measure of success, is you doing these really well. So the hired individual that you're working with, they agree that they'll be responsible for those, they'll be able to complete them, and they would report weekly that they are completing them. And that's before you ever hire them, not after. It makes it easy to have them begin determining their own questions about, okay, I've got all these things to do, which is the highest priority, so that they can be more productive. And I'll tell you that everybody on your team wants to be productive, because imagine we started saying, at the end of the day, do you feel like you just spun your wheels sometimes? Nobody wants to go to work and feel that way. So even though you are the business owner and you're thinking, but I pay them, they did the hourly work, they should be more productive, but they don't always know exactly what to do. And maybe they need more praise. Maybe they need more input from you. So think about what your role is, even if it's a contractor. It doesn't matter, I don't think, in today's post-pandemic era. A contractor needs just as much touch base with you as an employee would. So think about this. Make it easy for them to determine this. Go through this with them and say, hey, just wanted to go over how I determine what's the most important priority of my day, what has the most urgency, the factors that go into deciding that. And it's never a bad thing for somebody to ask me. I always remind them, it's okay, we can go over it. So I would suggest that if it's not going to help them achieve the measure of success for their role, then they think twice about doing it. If it doesn't generate revenue or leads, but it increases expenses, definitely think twice about that. Bring it to my attention. The numbers don't lie. So in your weekly goal of spending more productive, but potentially less overall time, wouldn't we all like that? You have to be deferring to the numbers to let them make the decision. Know the revenue from a promotion, meaning that you're promoting some kind of a program. The leads generated per lead magnet or the freebie you have, and your list email growth size. You want to know all of those. And we have that recorded Monday mornings. Every Monday morning, I'm looking at what were the podcast downloads for the week, what were the leads generated from certain freebies that we have, and what were the product sales from the Facebook ads that we have. So knowing your numbers is really an important thing in looking at, where should I spend my time? Let's say you're running a Facebook ad and you're looking at the numbers, and the revenue generated from it, the product sales, is lower than the ad spend. That would be a problem for me. How about for you, right? So something that would go on my task list would be, let's revisit ads. Let's look at which ads were performing the best, what images, what copy, and decide what are we going to tweak this week and test so that we can turn that ship around right away, right? Okay, so let's come back to a list of questions that you can use. So I gave you 3. I'm going to give you 4 more questions. Well, 3. Anyway, let me tell you this. To ask that'll lead to better productivity. What is your time worth? Do you know that? Do you know what your time is worth, like per hour? And here's how you know that, but it could be a sad answer. You count, you really tally all the time that you work, you spend working, and you look at how much revenue are you bringing in. What's your time worth per hour? right? When you first start out back in 2013 and 14, let me tell you, I might have had a number that was in the hole at that point because I was spending a lot of money expenses on coaching programs and learning and tools and platforms. And there wasn't a lot of revenue coming in really at all. So I was kind of coasting on what I had in my bank account. And for that reason, I sold my house at the end of that year or put it on the market anyway. So some of you know that story. If you don't, that's a story for another day. There will be no tears today, but you want to calculate that. What is your time worth? And you might want to think of it this way. So when you are an entrepreneur and you're wearing all the hats and you are getting started, the numbers are upside down, sideways. But think about this. If you would hire somebody with your expertise, with your experience and your qualifications to do the job that you were doing, how much would you have to pay them per hour? Think of it that way. And you need to make sure that you're making enough money in order to be doing a task. So if somebody could be doing it that is maybe a VA from the Philippines for $9 an hour, should they be doing it? Should you be just teaching them how to do it and hiring them? Another question is, how much would you have to pay somebody else to do this job? And, I ask you the first question in a different frame. What is your time worth? You need to know it. And you also get to say, I want my time to be worth $1,000 an hour. I don't want to do anything that isn't $1,000. So if you're going to do group programs, think about how much you're going to charge and how many of those you have to sell in order for your time to be valued at $1,000 an hour. And then do it. Hold yourself accountable. Hold more groups. Do this and do it more and more often to work however many hours a week you want to work to make whatever it is that you want to make. But also think about how much would you have to pay somebody else to do this job. So in this place, we're probably talking about the social media things or managing your Facebook ads potentially. If you don't know how to manage them, you need to know a part of it. Have an upcoming, and in fact, it probably was a recently posted podcast with a Facebook ads manager, and it's not what she calls herself, a media buyer. Okay. It's the sexy 2023 and 2024 title, but you want to know enough about it to be educated, to trust somebody, to go in that position and ask for the numbers you need. Could somebody else do this better than you for less than you? That's the golden question. So there's less in a lot of ways. There's less for less money, do it in less time, and do it with less frustration. So there are times when it actually pays to pay someone to do it. It can drive me crazy sometimes to pay, some team member $100 or more an hour for their time. But you know what? If getting it done more quickly and correctly the first time is important, that is far more worth it than me learning something that's out of my wheelhouse that I'm never even going to be sure or confident is done correctly, right? So think about who you need to hire to get this done. So I have to admit that, in case you two do this, while I was making notes here, while I was making the notes for you and saying, here's my Wednesday to do, and including the list on my to-do thing, I wanted to continue to add to it. So if you're like me and you would fill up that yellow legal pad, you have to stop yourself from doing that. You know that just because there's 24 lines there, you do not have to fill them. Consider that you are an employee. If your boss did that to you, what would you do? Probably quit or complain at the very least. What would they say if you gave them a list that there's no way they could complete it in a day? Goodbye comes to mind as far as what they'd say to you. Questions about pricing or offers or how long a funnel do you promote before you launch a program? These are all kinds of questions that we answer in real time in the hot seats in the Well Pros and the Mastermind mentorship. And last week after the first session, one of our members reported she had 2 new sales and 6 consult appointments booked within 2 days of the meeting. So if you think, that this doesn't apply to you, I think it does. There is something right now that you probably need help with, and we can help you with it in real time every Thursday. First 3 Thursdays of the month are all about hot seats, and you will win from somebody else's question as well, I promise. So I'm going to send you the show notes today to get these 3 questions I originally asked and the 3 additional questions that I asked later, so that you can look at what things do you have on your to-do list right now. Ask yourself, how important is it? Is it just a today important thing, or will it be important if you're doing this task next year? You're going to go to fitnessmarketingmastery.com/better productivity. Take this into the new year, not just for you, but for every VA, every contractor that you work with. Make sure you're working on the most important things and becoming who you need to be in order to have a more successful business. Okay, what are you waiting for? The world needs us right now more than ever.